So where is it all headed? What is the future of the past? Will these treasured items fade away, destined to become the stuff of legends, classed as history? Words in books debated on by future babies. We've heard the pro-vintage argument, quality over quantity, a rebellion in the face of mass production. Will it fall victim to digital destruction?
I have an appreciation of craftsmanship and quality. And I think that's where my appreciation of vintage clothing comes in, and that's why I'm nostalgic about stuff that was made way before I was born. My favorite era is wartime, 1930s and 40s. My slogan has always been make do and mend, and that is taken directly from like a war propaganda poster. I've never been rich, I've never had money. I've always struggled, but I've always been hell-bent on being self-employed because I don't want a job. I don't want to work for the man. And so I would rather make do and mend. And so I have this fascination with wartime fashion in that, you know, they really had nothing. They were like so poor. All the money was going to the war effort. It was hard times, you know, like horrible things happening in the world. And yet these women would still turn themselves out absolutely beautifully every single day. They'd make a dress last for like 3 years, and then when the dress was finally dead, they'd turn it into a beautiful quilt. I wish we still lived like that, where we actually appreciated the little things that we had.
One of the strongest benefits of collecting is the fact that it preserves history.
You know, I like to think of the past as being a lot more vibrant and alive than what gets turned into textbooks and history lessons.
Every item that I have, I remember where it came from, I remember how much I paid for it, you know, it's all a story.
I love to know the history of the things that I buy.
You can be as fashionable as you want to be, but bring your history with you.
You're buying stuff back from your neighbors and your grandparents, and you're keeping the dream alive.
Like everything that I own it has its own sort of little slice of surprise and excitement for me.
The church windows that I have, I know the church that they're from. The pews that I have, I know the church that they're from. And I keep that all, I write it down, I keep it in my mind, and that's just kind of a connection to those places and the people from those places.
You know, I don't want it to go away. I don't want the clothing to sort of be brought into the wrong hands, you know, especially around Halloween time when, you know, the stores get all the vintage clothing in it, and you think, oh, well, if I don't buy this, this is going to get fake blood on it and someone's going to cut it up, so, you know, I have to save it. I don't want this piece of history to get ruined.
A guy I know that collects, like, say, vintage pinball machines, he's keeping that alive, as well as then he learned how to repair them, do a beautiful job rebuilding them, and has taken a lot of machines that were basically ready to go to the garbage and saved them so that they can go on to another generation.
Within the surf music community, a lot of people are collecting and looking for the original recordings and the original 45s, and a lot of those were just pressed, you know, 300, 500 copies and distributed locally in their small towns. So there's a guy named John Blair down in California who has written the illustrated history of surf music, and it's you know, it's the tomb of every surf release released, and it's just amazing. And there's several other guys like Bob Daly out of Utah. So there is this community of people who are making sure it stays alive.
A lot of my hoarding, I felt, was originally that I'm trying to save things. And then now my selling of the stuff is also the same thing. I discovered with the hoarding, you hoard too much, you start destroying stuff. Just under the weight of other stuff, physically. The only way to save that stuff now is to move it on to other people who will preserve it, you know?
There's a lot of lessons that are slowly getting forgotten, and yeah, they shouldn't be forgotten because we might need them someday.
The past wasn't always good. We had to learn by it and try to keep the future better, but if we don't learn by it, meaning we had to pay attention to the past, we'll mess up the future.
I'm starting to feel a real affinity lately for 50s and 60s, so mid-century modern, so that type of thing. Whereas before, the sofas and the dishes and everything would remind me of my grandmother in particular. And I grew up on a farm, so We didn't have a lot of really fancy furniture or anything, and lots of times if it was cold in the wintertime and we didn't have any firewood, you know, that old antique bed would go in the fire. Spinning wheel, I definitely remember my father throwing one of those in the stove. I think it makes you feel a connection to your past. That's something that's really important to me.
Living in the past and preserving the past, I think, are two different things.
You can't live in the past. The past is the past. You can't do that, no.
There's a great episode of Star Trek The Next Generation where Data keeps wanting to go back in time and be Sherlock Holmes on the holodeck. And, you know, part of me thinks, oh, that'd be really cool to have like a 3D past experience. And then part of me kind of goes, but again, like that dark side of wanting to stay there and wanting to live in that era, and that's not really a healthy attitude.
Times are changing. They always have been changing, you know. There's never really been a rut where there's absolutely no advancement or anything, you know, not for a few thousand years at least.
Technology is getting to the point where you could conceivably, you know, spend time in the past digitally or holographically or whatever, and I imagine we'll get there maybe sooner than later. But, you know, I think we have other things as a society to concentrate on fixing.
That's where the memory word comes in. Play on the memories all you want, but you can't live in the past. You have to go on.
We've progressed as people since then, and you know, we have to have fresh attitudes.
Learn about the bad things that happen, but learn about the good things, and, you know, have a balance to it.
Oh, that's cool. And I collect these old shells to use as planters. They're just, because of the, like, you know, the brassy gold color, they're just really unique.
I have a bigger one, and I use it as an umbrella stand. There were actually bullets in those things.
Yeah, which is kind of strange, but it's just another way to give new life to something.
That's
This would
really
make
nice.
a really cool flower, like,
It would.
vase.
Yeah.
I'll definitely get that.
As a business owner, of course, I'm always thinking, well, is this a trend? Is this something that's going to run its course, and then in 20 years it'll be all over?
Where is it going to go? I don't know. I don't see a stop to it.
Trap music is very popular in pop music right now, like it's trap drums specifically. There was like obviously huge EDM influence on top 40 music. In terms of music, I think, you know, in 2037, that kind of stuff will start seeping its way back in.
It seems to be growing every year. We get more and more new faces.
Nostalgia will never go away because the thing that, you know, childhood memories and the feelings of what it was, you know, that innocent time can't be erased.
They can preserve so much to look at, but the actual way of touching, coming into a place like this and touching or looking close at the real thing is going to be less and less, I think, because so many things are getting computer world.
People will still be nostalgic whether they have objects to go with that or not, because they'll always have it in their heart and memory. I think there'll always be like that 30-year window that just moves along tracks with people as they get older. And it doesn't matter whether they live in, you know, today or some Buck Rogers world of the future. Whatever their childhood is, they'll feel wistful about it when they're 35 or 40. And I think that whatever it is they're going to make, and wherever they make it next, there'll be things, you know, there'll always be something to collect.
Just one more thing, I was just curious, like, what's your advice to somebody that, you know, has some stuff from their childhood? Do you think they should hang on to it or
Sell it to me. Definitely.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
sell it to you and then someone else will buy it.
Yeah, and then they can buy it back in a few years, you know.
There you have it. It's become abundantly clear. To know where you're going, you have to know where you've been. Our past makes us who we are. Reminiscing on a bygone era helps us to cope with today. It helps today's young people to feel emotionally connected in a tech-connected world. Yes, we've had good days, but the good old days is a concept built on our tendency to hold on to the best bits of life and to let the bad ones fade away. Because if not, we get stuck and never move forward. Nostalgia is a mighty emotion. It's the tangible and the intangible combined. Science has proven that collecting and preserving items from our past does us a world of good. It shapes us, it connects us, it makes us feel whole. And it's key to maintaining our history, as long as we remember not to let it control us and to not get lost in the whimsy. Just remember, the good old days weren't always good, and tomorrow ain't as bad as it seems. Billy Joel.
Got a shirt, it's too tight. Got a vest, fits just right. I got my bell-bottom jeans on. Hand me my aviators, no wait. They're already on my face and they look great. Oh, I cut my beard into a mustache. And I got my bell-bottom jeans on. What kind of jeans am I wearing? They're bell-bottom jeans, oh yeah. What kind of jeans am I wearing? They're bell-bottom jeans, yeah. I get the bell-bottom jeans, if you know what I mean. I got them bell-bottom jeans on. I flannel frown, trainal now. Leg a drink it down, leg a fling out, flannel now. Bring a flannel now, like a fram, now, bring a fram, now, fling a fram, now. Keep going, I flannel, now, the strand, a leg a wing, so a flannel and go, string on her gown, now, the fling a fling out, fling. Here's a B there.